Hello there, sweet friends. This is Gina. Welcome to the Rebookery channel. I'm going to hop on today because I have a journal finished. It's part of the Homebodies collection. And instead of just waiting until I get a whole bunch done, I think what I may do is as I finish one, I will pop a video onto YouTube and then list it in my store like a day or two after I've showed it on YouTube. It just, right now, with just, I don't know, my work is kind of crazy right now, and so this just seems to be a better way to get these guys moving and out to their forever homes. So this Homebodies collection book is one that I am in love with personally because it has a lot of 80s flair to it, and that's my jam, 70s and 80s. So it's got vintage things, but it's vintage as in it's the 1980s and 1970s. So this was an original Better Homes and Gardens. I think it was a handicrafts and stitchery. The other book that I made from the cover, because the book was like gigantic, so I was able to cut the covers in half, and so it sold on my last Homebodies release. And it was just like the covers, and I'd cut it in half, and I can't remember. I think it was called Stitchery, Handicrafts and Stitchery, maybe. I don't know. So anyway, this is the other cover to that one, and it's just been cut down, and then I made a book out of it. And it has 4 signatures. On the front, I've got some buttons, I've got some fabric, and then I've got a felted sweater that I've turned into a pocket and made just this little booklet out of some sewing tissue. And so here's the thing, I was going to put a label on here, and I was digging through my label stash, and I was like, yeah, I could go for one of those, you know, old Dennison labels. But I had these 3M diskette labels, you know, like floppy disks. And yeah, is that not perfect? I mean, 80s, hello. So yeah, I thought that was so fitting. So I put 2 of those little labels in here because, yep, floppy disks. Oh my gosh, floppy disks and diskettes. Then on the spine, I did some fabric scraps and just kind of did a running stitch and put them into the binding. They are not secured with glue, so you're free to move them around. If you want to glue them, you're welcome to do that. And then for the binding, I just tied them off with little knots and just kind of left them long. And then here's the back. All right, so the tie is made out of rayon, which of course, totally fitting for the 80s. And then there's an eyelet on the front and an eyelet on the back and buttons on the front. All right, so here we go. Make sure this is in frame. Okie dokies. So for this one, I think, again, I didn't use any scrapbook paper. I used some handmade paper. This is a little fabric tuck spot. This is a pocket made out of snap packaging, a little booklet, and everything that I've used, kind of like my other Homebodies collection. It has pages from old crafting books, vintage crochet, knitting, sewing, rug making, cross stitch. Just take all of those pages and I just kind of mix and match and put them in the journal. So you'll see a lot of the similar pages that were in the last Homebodies collection. I also did some free motion stitching, used some of my old ledger paper. I think this is 1969. Made lots of pockets again. So this pocket has a little journaling card, and it's got some peekaboo holes here that I've just put some tulle over with some free motion stitching, and then a book page on the back. This is some ledger paper that I've turned into a pocket. My sweet friend Tammy has sent me a wonderful package of just all kinds of glorious pages, papers, and wallpaper. And I just happened to have this sitting on my table as I was working on this journal, and so some of her wallpaper made its way into this journal. So another tag. This is a little booklet that I just glued to a instruction sheet on tying off knots, I think. And then this is a vellum pocket with a book page on the back. Finish the edge with some washi, some doilies. This is a scrapbook paper that had library cards on one side, so it's actually not a real library card. Some fringe that I got at Salvation Army. So this is a fun little page. This is a little envelope that I stitched in, and then some wallpaper. And then in here is this little booklet that I just made out of a scrap paper. It's an offcut from some scrapbooking paper, and then stamp these little girl images, and then I have a couple little tags that slip inside this pocket. I think that's cute. I've really gotten into making all kinds of fun little like pockets and tucks and, you know, just little tags and little bitty things where you could just like jot just a teeny tiny little phrase or a saying or a sentence and tuck it in and keep it nice and safe. And I've really gotten into those. So this is some more of where I stitch on one side and then it leaves you the outline on the back side. This is again with file folders. So this was in my original Homebodies collection. I'll link that video below, but this is where I took recycled file folders and I held them together with fabric and then created pages. So doily again with the ledger paper. This was the cover of a cross stitch book. Some more pages from the cross stitch book. I love the blue and the black, and to me that really says 70s and 80s. So this is an actual book jacket from, and I think it was crocheting. It's actually the other part of it's in here too. So this is just some cross stitching cloth, turned it into a little tuck spot with just a little fun doodad up here. I think that was just some snaps that I got in a bevy of buttons that I was able to find this weekend. It was crazy. I found the most glorious little antique shop in southern Missouri. My husband and I were going down to, there's a hydroelectric dam, and we grew up next to it, the lake and everything, so we were headed down that way, and we saw this little antique store on the way down, and I said stop, and so we went in, and yeah, so they had tons of buttons, which I needed to add some more to my button supply, and oh man, I got a lot of cross stitch and doilies, things like that. So this cool little thing is the back of that file folder, and then this is a little trifold. Okay, so you got this on the front, this on the back, and this was just a cover to a cross stitch book. So I turned it into a little trifold. Stick that in there. So here's one of the cross-stitching doilies that I got at this little antique store that I went to, and so I'll show you. Here's the one side. Now these are all old, so they're stained. I washed them, tried to remove the stains, but this is just adding character to it. So what I did with this was I backed it with a transparency and created a pocket. But the reason why I did that was because I feel like whenever I rescue something like this, an abandoned doily or some cross stitch that's maybe half done, or some knitting that may be only partially done, I feel like that's someone's story, that's someone's energy, that's someone's work, and I don't want to just tear it apart. I want to, almost like I'm the middleman, and I'm wanting to send it out and give it a whole new life. So one of the things I think is important is to show the work process, and this is the work process. So that's why I put a transparency here, because even though it's not as pretty as the front, it's the process. It's the process that this artist went through to try to get this doily complete, and you know, cross stitching and things like that. It's kind of a lost art now. So I want to honor that by showing the backside of it. So some more handmade paper, another tuck spot, some of Tammy's pretty wallpaper that she sent me. This was a dictionary, I think, from the 1980s. So this was cool. I took just a piece of cardstock and then sewed some tulle, and then just kind of made a little pocket, put just some little sequins and a couple of buttons in there. This is one of those trifolds, and stuck it in a pocket with some old eyelet fabric. This is just a card that I had done some art on, and yeah, did some collage, and so I just put some fabric, a strip of fabric, and you could actually slip something in there, and then it's inside of this frame. So this is some free motion. This is the front side of it, and this is the back side. And I thought about, wouldn't this be cool to like color in all of these empty spaces, like the circles and stuff? That would be awesome to do with like watercolor. So then this is the back side of the doily. This is just a little Valentine, the package of Valentines that I had, and so I just kind of turned it into a little journaling card. And then there's the doily again. So this is the last signature. So this is a file folder, again, the file folder pages, and I put some fabric down here and just tucked in a couple of little tags into this pocket with some fun little thread. And then there's the back side, a doily that I turned into a pocket, and then in here is a booklet. This is a really cool booklet. This came from some instructions on, gosh, I want to say it was latch hook maybe, but it had this color wheel, and so I'm sure this was a ditto at one time maybe, or maybe it was just an old copy of some page, but it has the color wheel, so that's a cool little graphic, and you could absolutely add your colors to that. In the back side, check out this old fabric. This is, I don't know where I got this old fabric, but oh my gosh, so pretty, just such pretty lace work. So just a journaling card, a newer journaling card, but I added some lace and stuff to it. This is the other part of that book jacket, and I turned it into pockets also. So I don't know if you can see this or not, but there's a heart that I free motion stitched into this. And then here's the back side. This folds out. And this is a cool little notepad that I have, and it's March 1968. So the more I got to looking at it, these must have been some dressmaking notes. So whoever had this was writing notes, like it's talking about him and the bodice and things like that, at the measuring at the waist and the shoulder. So these are just some cool little dressmaking notes. I'm assuming it was some sort of a dress or something that you would wear, so I stitched that in there. Okay, so the title of this book is Decorate with Crochet. So this is the book jacket to Decorate with Crochet. Just added some stamps. I don't normally stamp, but I did have some stamping that had, or some stamps that have crafting, like knitting and doll making and stuff. So I thought those would be cute. This is just a little fold out with some trim, some more of that fringe I got from Salvation Army, a doily pocket with a journaling card. And then this is the last page. So this is the other part of the file folder. This is some lace. I want to say this is probably a tablecloth. And so what I did was, this page right here is all lace. And then in it, you've got, this is a tag. And then do the other one. This is, oh, this is a booklet type that I made. Ooh, that's kind of cute. I'd forgotten I'd made that. And then I just stitched around. And then this is some of my fabric that I got from this wonderful old lady that these were just some of her old fabrics. Her children were selling her fabrics, and this is one of my absolute favorite. It's this pink with these little teddy bears and sailboats, and I don't have very much of it, but whenever I do use it, oh my gosh, I just love it. And then here's the back. This is also fabric from that same little old lady and her fabric stash. And then here is the back cover and the rayon. All right, so there we go. This is going to be listed in my Etsy shop on Wednesday, is it the 21st? Wednesday the 21st? Wednesday the 21st at, if it is the 21st, but Wednesday, let's go 5 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, Kansas City, Missouri, USA. So 5 o'clock on Wednesday, I will list this in my Etsy shop. Guys, thanks for watching and have a great rest of the day. Bye.